now give the floor to the distinguished observer of the Sovereign Order of Malta.
Madam Chairman, Madam President, Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, the Sovereign Order of Malta gives its thanks to Ireland and Norway for their relentless pursuit of this agenda, confronting the devastating consequences that the recent veto cast will have on the millions of people whose welfare and whose very lives depend on the maintenance of a humanitarian corridor between Turkey and Syria. A total of 4.1 million people in northwestern Syria will be affected. 90% of those are in severe need of humanitarian assistance. And by putting politics above human lives, basic human rights have been undermined. In March of this year, I visited a hospital supported by the Sovereign Order of Malta and a refugee camp in Bahr al-Salam in Turkish-controlled Syria, and saw for myself the suffering and the privation of the area and how the supply of aid from all aid agencies was making a difference to the inhabitants and was one of the last remaining agents of hope. What would a closure to the border mean for the dynamics of human assistance in northwestern Syria? We know that the entire UN coordination mechanism would be threatened by such a non-renewal of the cross-border facility. There would be a transitional period due to a necessary shift of roles and responsibilities from cross-border UN-controlled to cross-line commercial operations. It's unclear how this change would impact the volume of aid distribution, especially in light of concerns about aid diversion in regime-controlled areas and the ability of Damascus to implement humanitarian decisions. Let's face it, 6 months will not give sufficient time to build a long-term and sustainable alternative strategy to meet the needs of the civilians affected. Training and capacity building for health authorities and local professionals will continue to be very difficult, if not impossible, in many areas. It remains our deep concern that the lack of respect for international humanitarian and human rights law is becoming more and more prevalent across our international community. The UN Charter, in its preamble, sets an objective to establish conditions under which justice and respect for the obligations arising from treaties and other sources of international law can be maintained. We urge the members of the United Nations, and especially the Security Council, to put politics aside and focus on those who are most decidedly left behind. Among other things, not to do so makes a mockery of our commitment to the Sustainable Development Goals and the work that ECOSOC has recently completed here in this very room. Thank you, Madam President.
I thank the distinguished observer of the Sovereign Order of Malta for his statement.